So, a very warm welcome to Corny & Barry's Bordeaux Unplugged 2025 Bordeaux, obviously, campaign podcasts. So, I'm delighted, this is Will here, delighted to be joined by Mr. Seddon.
Thank you, Will. Delighted to be here.
Good. And Mr. Ditcham, Bordeaux buyer.
Good morning, both. Pleasure to join you.
Yeah, and you'll notice, hopefully from the lack of waffle, that Mr. Muller is not here today. He's sunning himself on the beaches of Devon. But time waits for no man, even Mr. Muller. So we're going to be cracking on with a quick chat this morning about Château Rocheyron of Peter Sisseck. So, Guy, if I can defer to you for some of the crucial facts and figures.
Thanks, Will. Okay, so Château Rocheyron from Peter Sisseck, a long-standing friend of Corny & Barrow. Many people will know him from Dominio de Pingus, which he established in the mid to late 1990s and went on very quickly to become an absolute legend of northern Spain. He then established Château Rocheyron in Saint-Émilion in 2010 was the first vintage, and he has made the wines there for the last decade and a half. And we always taste the Rocheyron new vintage there at the estate, and Peter brings the Pingus wines as a sort of sneak preview of those. So we get to do all four wines, as it were, in one tasting, which is wonderful. We taste them the week before the Primeur tastings in Bordeaux, and it's one of our first indications of the quality of the Bordeaux vintage. And in 2025, it was clearly a bellwether for what is a high quality vintage. And I just wanted to do a little introduction to Rocheyron, the estate. So it's 7.8 hectares. It's right on the edge of the Saint-Émilion limestone plateau. It's what Peter referred to this year as the Siberia of the Libourne area, by which he meant it's on the very cool soils of Saint-Émilion. So infamously, the 1956 frost in this area destroyed much of the vines on the right bank of Bordeaux, and Rocheyron was one of the few lieux-dits to escape the 56 frost because its soils were already so cool. It didn't suffer from that change of temperature. The estate is made up of two lieux-dits, so Rocheyron itself, after which the estate is named, and a parcel called Escher. Now, this, Peter was at some pains to point out in 25, is one of the first years that you've seen the shift towards the Rocheyron lieux-dit with younger vines, but he said that it's been a decisive shift in terms of the blend of Rocheyron, the wine, since the 2020 vintage. And he said it's a change that can't be hurried, which is fair enough. And really, I think from 25 onwards is when Peter sees this influence of the younger vines that are planted in the Rocheyron lieux-dit to be really instrumental in the character of the wine. The wine itself is a blend of 80% of Merlot and 20% Cabernet Franc. And it's really this balance between the two grape varieties and the two lieux-dits which has left its mark on the 25 vintage. The vintage itself, I won't go into all of it, but one quote from Peter I think is quite indicative. He said, "We're not simply satisfied with this vintage, we are deeply excited about it, and proud to see how so many years of work now find such a clear expression in the wines." So Peter, always very enthusiastic, but also rigorously objective about his own wines, and he'll be he'll be one of the first persons to criticize his own wines if they feel they are due to be criticized. But I think in 25 you could see his excitement about the wine, and that was infectiously exciting for us as well. I think it's genuinely the best Rocheyron I've tasted there, I think.
Yeah, and I think I would agree. And also it was interesting to taste that he opened the 24 as well, which not a lot of people, when we were in Bordeaux, did, because 25 has a greater rep than 24. But we've revisited the 25, and I think he's starting, dare I say it, in a slightly Mitchellville way, to have a real penchant for doing well in trickier vintages as well as great vintages like 25. So, yeah, no, I thought it was very, very good.
Did he mention the yields this year? Because on average, it's usually 10,000 bottles
Yeah, from
for
memory,
years.
he was at 30 hectolitres per hectare, I think, this year, which, is a reasonable yield, I think, in the context of 25 vintage, which was pretty heat affected. But interestingly, he made the point that if you get much higher than sort of 35, let's say, or 40, then you lose the limestone character. And that's really what he's looking for. Peter's wines, I think you can see across the board from the Fino sherry that he makes down in Jerez to the Pingus wines to Rocheyron. It's all about this kind of expression of limestone, and that's what Peter loves. And I think he finds that at higher yields, you begin to lose some of that texture. So I think 30, he was very happy to be there in 25.
And for the listeners, there's only one wine made at the estate.
Yeah, so there is a second wine, Fleur de Rocheyron, but it's only released in certain years. And we just focus on Rocheyron itself.
Okay.
Distributed separately. The only time they only made the Fleur de Rocheyron was in 13 when they declassified into that. But yeah, no, it's very valid. I mean, I think it was also interesting to note that I thought the 25, and I know it's a shame in a way, Joe's not here because he was a massive fan of it. And I think the fact that Peter's going to release it at the same price as the 24, and he listened to the market a lot during COVID in 2019. So I think there's a lot of boxes ticked on this particular one. And I've been drinking a bit of the 17 recently, and it was delicious. And I know I think he bought a mag of 22 with him, didn't he? And I mean, to supper. And I think the wine is going from strength to strength, really.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that really brought it home to me this year more than ever, I think, is this sense of biodynamic kind of luminosity. And this is what I love about Pingus and the Pingus wines, for example, that they have this kind of sense of transparency and lift and luminosity. And you can really see that influence is coming through in Rocheyron now, which maybe in the early years, it was finding its feet a little bit. And I think now you make the point about the 24 being amazing, and it was, to have tasted this very, very impressive 25 and then to be served the 24 afterwards. Incidentally, I don't think anybody else this year did that. I think, no. To show your 24 after your 25 was perhaps asking for unfair comparisons in some cases, but the Rocheyron 24 was beautiful. And it has this lift and this kind of this purity of fruit.
Yeah, we captured a few. There's a small video I did at a negotiation tasting with Peter, but it wasn't the ideal place to do it. But so we captured a few of his thoughts on the 25, and I think it seems to have had widespread critical acclaim, not necessarily from the big names, but from some of the more academic thinker types who write about the wines. And I think that kind of says it all, really. It's going to be a wine, and also I don't think it's a wine that you need to give masses of age to before you can appreciate it. As we say, 22 is a big, quite heavy vintage, and that Magnum we had was delicious with him. So I think with 25, 5, 6, 7 years, and it'll really be in its full stride.
Yeah. You've known the wines obviously well from the beginning. I mean, what in terms of vintage progression, do you think there was a turning point where the character changed slightly, or?
Yeah, I think Peter says by his own admission that obviously, you mentioned the first vintage was 10, but he basically took over in June. So essentially he harvested and decided when to pick and made the wine, but really the vineyard was in a very different shape from state rather than shape from how it is now. I think he feels from 17.
Yeah.
And then I think he feels even more so from sort of 21, 22.
Yeah.
I think you do get this with the move to biodynamics and having a more alive vineyard. I certainly feel that he's made, I enjoy the 12, and I think that's probably one of the first of the first wine that was really, really good in a way. But I think 17 shows a step change, and then probably 21, which again, it was not an easy vintage.
Yeah. Yeah. And for a winemaker who's obviously covering lots of bases geographically, he's flying down to the south of Spain, he's in northern Spain, and then he's coming across to Saint-Émilion. It's very important to have a very good home team in each of these places. Yeah. And Mathieu Ravero, who's the regisseur at Rocheyron, he's been a constant, and he's
importantly so. Yeah, I agree.
So he's very much a fixture at the estate, and he's a very sort of calm, collected character, and is just following day in, day out the progress at the estate. And,
but I think Peter, you're right to single out Mathieu, because he does. I think Peter gives him his head to get on and do things. but I think it's a good team. There's often a little bit of a wry smile from Matthew about various things, which I quite enjoy.
Yes.
But yeah,
I found a funny quote about Peter. He said, "You'd be stupid to choose winemaking over whiskey or beer if your primary goal is to make money." So I think that's sort of testament to the man and his principles when it comes to winemaking.
And he
his
loves the
honesty
project
and his candidness.
yeah, and
And
he loves the project.
And actually, it's the first time I met him was last year, even though I've been here for 10 years.
Right.
And that was the Vina Koalas presentation.
Right,
Having met him again recently in Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Fantastic gentleman and very humble. But yeah, the wines are superb this year.
Yeah.
The 25 is superb.
I've been very lucky for the last couple of years to spend a day with Peter in Ribera, and tends to be sort of late summer, early autumn, and drive around and see the vineyards with him. And he was showing me last year all of the new plantings for PSI, his great old vine projects in Ribera del Duero. And it's just so complex and such an enormous patchwork of things to take on. And at one point he said, "You must realize I make decisions from the heart, not with a business mind." And I think, as you say, it's very, very abundantly clear when you speak to Peter that this is somebody who has this idea of the way good wine should be and should be made. And if you were a management consultant, I think you would recommend he does it in a very different way. But it's the drinkers are the lucky ones.
Just one last thing about the estate. He was moving to biodynamic farming. Is that now fully converted, or is that?
Yes. Yeah. So let me just get this right. But organic certification was obtained in 2020 vintage and biodynamic in 2023.
Okay.
So yes, it is now 100% organic and biodynamic.
And all the work that comes with that. It's it's a hell of a task.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Mathieu and Peter between them are doing a brilliant job. And we wholeheartedly recommend the Rocheyron 25. And actually really look forward to releasing that. It's coming up, I think, around about the last Friday of May, which is only a couple of days from now, or when you're listening to this. But yeah, so there we go. Rocheyron goes from strength to strength. Any last comments?
No, just I'm a big believer in Peter's wines, and I think we've, with my sort of selling wine hat on, we've got customers who follow Peter whatever he does, and I think the man inspires loyalty, and his style of wine I think inspires a following, and it does have this sense of energy and looking at things a slightly different way and being slightly iconoclastic within a fairly classical setup of where he's making wine, and I totally endorse that. I think he's brilliant, and I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah, who knows, there might be another project. Mr. Ditcham, any last thoughts from you?
No, I was just thinking, obviously, where he's located and where he makes wine, he must have followers in all countries: Spain, France,
certainly
Denmark, obviously Denmark.
Yeah.
The pillars support the wines.
Yeah.
Not just
well, Andy spends time out in Asia with our teams out there. So it's
and his wines have always been quite strong in the US as well, I think. So he's had a very dedicated following.
Yes, with the famous shipment of Pingus.
Yes,
exactly.
Which sank en route.
But, yeah. Brilliant. Well, look, there we go. That's Rocheyron 2025. Any questions, please fire them in and let us know. But the offer will be out by the time you hear this. And please buy away. Anyway, thank you very much from Will.
Thank you from me. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.